read chapter 16 of Doll People today. Okay? It's called The Dolls Make a Plan. Auntie Sarah? Annabelle had found herself clutching Tiffany, but now she let go and stepped toward the doll on the floor. Are you alive? Are you really alive? I'm coming too, said Auntie Sarah. And Annabelle remembered a time, years and years ago, when Grandma Catherine had been playing with her in bed and had forgotten about her, and Annabelle had slipped down between the side of the bed and the wall. She had been wedged there for close to a week, and during that time she had felt groggy and sluggish, like a frog hibernating at the bottom of a pond. She hadn't been in doll state, but she had felt as if she'd been in another kind of state, one that changed her perception of time. So when she was finally discovered, she had been surprised to find that 6.5 days had passed instead of merely an hour or two. Auntie Sarah, we've been looking everywhere for you. We've been searching and searching, added Tiffany. You don't know me, but Is Amorous Ferox nearby? Said Auntie Sarah sleepily. What? Said Annabelle. The black lace weaver? Is that a spider? Asked Tiffany brightly. Yes, and I was so close to it. Annabelle uttered a cry and jumped aside. Annabelle, that was 45 years ago, said Tiffany. I don't think it's still around. 45 years ago? Exclaimed Auntie Sarah, sounding both distressed and more awake. Yes, said Annabelle. But how? Annabelle read your journal, said Tiffany, and Annabelle dug her elbow into Tiffany's side. What? Oh my. Annabelle knelt beside Auntie Sarah. Can you sit up? She asked. No, I'm stuck. That's the problem. There's Auntie Sarah, stuck in the attic. Well, wiggle out of your dress then, said Tiffany. I can't. I've tried and tried, but I'm sewn into it, and part of my sleeve is caught too, see? Okay, then we'll pull you out, said Annabelle. Here, Tiffany, grab her shoulders. Annabelle and Tiffany grabbed and pulled some more. Nothing happened. I guess we're not strong enough, said Tiffany at last, eyeing the trunk. How did you get trapped here anyway? I took off to explore one day. I suppose I should have told someone where I was going, but I was in a rush. And Annabelle, your parents didn't like me to talk about my explorations. So I just dashed to the attic, and I was so close to Amorous Ferox. I could just see her legs creeping out from under a floorboard when someone came in the attic with a big pile of things. Boxes and clothing and I don't know what. I didn't even know anyone was home. I hid right away, of course. Whoever it was busy for quite a while, putting things away, moving cartons around. I thought I had found the perfect hiding place when suddenly I felt the trunk shift, and then it was lifted up slightly, and when it was lowered to the ground, it came down on my dress. It just missed my legs and my left arm. I was lucky it hadn't come down on me. I would have been crushed, but I was trapped. I couldn't move. I thought I would just wait for some kind of help to come, and then I suppose I must have drifted off. For 45 years, exclaimed Tiffany. Isn't that something? 45 years, Auntie Sarah repeated. Why, Catherine must be, let me see. She's a grandmother now, said Tiffany. She had a daughter named Annie, added Annabelle, named for me, I think. And now Annie has a daughter named Kate, and we are Kate's dolls. Well, I'm not, said Tiffany. I'm one of Nora's dolls. Who's Nora? Asked Auntie Sarah. So Annabelle and Tiffany sat down to tell Auntie Sarah some of the things that had happened since she had disappeared. They were trying to explain about the Funcrafts dream house when suddenly Annabelle cried, Tiffany, what are we doing? We have to go home now, and we have to figure out some way to get Auntie Sarah out of here. We're going to need help, said Tiffany. I know. Annabelle paused. Then she said, I just thought of something. What will we do with Auntie Sarah after we set her free? We can't just bring her back to the house. Our house after all these years. She can't simply appear there. What would the Palmers think? I don't know. We'll have to leave her here for now, said Tiffany. Annabelle gazed down at Auntie Sarah. I finally found you, and now I have to leave you in this place? She looked around the dim, dusty attic and almost let out a sob. We don't have a choice, said Tiffany. I already heard the clock chime 4. Come on, Annabelle. She grabbed Annabelle's hand, and Annabelle said desperately, We'll be back as soon as we can, Auntie Sarah, I promise. So long for now, she called over her shoulder as Tiffany pulled her toward the stairs. When Annabelle scrambled back up the stool and into the dollhouse, she was so excited that all she managed to blurt out was, We found Auntie Sarah! You found her? You actually found her? Cried Mama Doll. Yes, and she's alive. Papa sat down heavily in a chair. Nanny gasped, and Annabelle thought that this time Uncle Doll was going to faint, but he didn't. We must go to the attic and get her immediately, he said. And it was only later that Annabelle would realize she hadn't said yet where she and Tiffany had found Auntie Sarah, and the excitement no one else noticed. The dolls asked a million questions, and Annabelle answered them proudly. Okay, so here we can see Auntie Sarah's dress that's stuck under the trunk. And there's Annabelle. She doesn't want to leave Auntie Sarah, but Tiffany's pulling her and say they have to go home. But after just a few minutes, Annabelle said, we have a big problem. I don't think it's going to be too difficult to rescue Auntie Sarah. I think if we all go to the attic together, we can work her dress out from under the trunk. But then what are we going to do with her? No one spoke. Annabelle knew it was on the tip of everyone's tongue to say, why, just bring her home, of course. But each of the dolls stopped upon realizing that was exactly the kind of thing that would put them in jeopardy. Eventually, the dolls had to resume their positions before a plan had been made, but Annabelle whispered just as the alarm clock went off, we'll meet with the Fun Crafts tonight. I know we'll figure something out. The next day, the dolls were less careful than usual. Whenever they thought they were alone, they scurried into the parlor to talk about Auntie Sarah. But by nightfall, they had decided only on one thing, that when the Fun Crafts came over, Nanny would stay behind with baby Brittany and baby Betsy, and the rest of the dolls would go to the attic to see Auntie Sarah. Annabelle was terrified that something would happen to keep them from making the trip up to the attic stairs, that the captain would appear, or that it would begin to rain again, or even that Kate would have trouble sleeping. But none of those things happened, and shortly before midnight, Annabelle found herself leading the way up the stairs. Behind her, she could hear all sorts of groans and grunts and exclamations. Mama and Papa had particularly difficulty with the steps, but Mom and Dad Funcraft helped them. Isn't this exciting? Annabelle whispered to Tiffany as they neared the top step. Look what Sump has done. We are amazing, said Tiffany. The moment the last of the rescuers, Papa, had huffed and puffed his way up to the top step, the 9 dolls looked ahead of them into the dimly lit room. This is the gateway to the attic, Tiffany said dramatically. Where's Auntie Sarah? Asked Uncle Doll. Over here, said Annabelle, and led the way to the trunk. Look at all this stuff, exclaimed Bobby, as they passed by boxes and crates and old, odd pieces of furniture. We definitely have to come back here, said Bailey. We could play here every night. Think what we might find. It is quite a playground, agreed Mom Funcraft. Mama and Papa said little, but Annabelle could see them gazing around the attic with wide, curious eyes. Okay, Auntie Sarah is back here, Annabelle finally announced. Come on, everybody. Just then, Papa held out a hand. Uncle Doll should go first, he said quietly. So Annabelle led Uncle Doll around the corner of the trunk and then slipped back to her family in the Funcrafts. She wanted to listen to what was being said between Uncle Doll and Auntie Sarah, but Mama shook her head. Finally, after several minutes had passed, Papa said, all right, I think the rest of us would like to see Auntie Sarah. Okay, said Annabelle, and she walked around the trunk again, this time followed by the other dolls. Here she is, she said. And there was Auntie Sarah, still lying on the floor, of course, but now Uncle Doll was kneeling beside her, holding her hand. I just can't believe I've been here for 45 years, Auntie Sarah was saying. I feel like Rip Van Winkle. Who's Rip Van Winkle? Bailey asked, but in the confusion that followed, no one answered him. Annabelle introduced Auntie Sarah to the Funcrafts, and then all the grown-up dolls began talking at once. Mostly Annabelle heard apologies from Mama and Papa and Uncle Doll, and then she heard Mama say something she would have to ask her about later. We thought you had to run away. Okay, in this picture you can see all the dolls waiting to see Auntie Sarah. And over here, behind the trunk, Uncle Doll's leaning down talking to her. Run away? Why? Annabelle started to say, but Mom Funcraft had stepped over to Uncle Doll, who was still holding Auntie Sarah's hand. I know you haven't seen each other in a very long time, she said to Auntie Sarah, but shouldn't we see if we can't free your dress? Uncle Doll answered for her. Oh my, yes, of course, how silly of us. He got to his feet. Mama and Papa and Uncle Doll and Mom and Dad examined Auntie Sarah's dress and the trunk. If we all were together, could we move the trunk? Asked Bobby from behind him. I don't think so, replied Papa after a moment. But if we work together, I believe we can pull Sarah's dress out from under it, said Uncle Doll. The dolls, all 9 of them, bent down next to Auntie Sarah and each grabbed 2 handfuls of her dress. They pulled harder. They braced their feet against the trunk and groaned and pulled even harder. Hey, it's moving, cried Bailey. And so it was, very slowly. Auntie Sarah's dress was sliding out from under the trunk where it had been trapped for 45 years. In the end, a small piece caught on the brass fixture on the corner was tore off, but it was so tiny and Auntie Sarah was already so dirty and dusty and cobwebby that Annabelle didn't think it would matter. Auntie Sarah raised her hands to her head. Goodness, she said, thank you. Uncle Doll helped her to sit up, which she did stiffly. Then she announced that she felt fit as a fiddle and ready to go. But Uncle Doll held her back. Not yet, he said. We haven't figured out what to do with you. You can't just appear in Kate's dollhouse. That would raise suspicions. It certainly would, said Mama. But luckily, I have an idea, said Annabelle. You do, said Tiffany. You didn't tell me. I just thought of it now, replied Annabelle. What we must do is get Auntie Sarah to a place where one of the Palmers will find her so she can be returned to the dollhouse by a human. That wouldn't put us in jeopardy. So I thought, where should she go after all these years that won't make the Palmers suspicious? Right away it came to me, the captain's bed. If we put Auntie Sarah there, the Palmers will think the captain has been prowling around again and he found Auntie Sarah somewhere and took her to his bed so that he could play with her. That's brilliant, exclaimed Tiffany, and everyone agreed, except for Auntie Sarah, who simply said, Who's the captain? Annabelle exclaimed, and after a moment Auntie Sarah said, A cat's bed? Well, all right, if I must, I must. Let's go. Oh, not tonight, Sarah, said Uncle Doll. I'm afraid there isn't enough time. We'll have to go tomorrow. You mean I have to spend another night in the attic? Said Auntie Sarah. Oh, dear. Well, perhaps I'll see Amarybis ferox after all, or even another spider. What a shame I don't have my journal with me. Okay, so here's a picture of the doll's green Auntie Sarah's dress from under the trunk. And then here's Auntie Sarah once she sat up. She's sitting up, had to sit up very stiffly because she's been stuck in one position for so many years. The dolls talked for a bit longer, and then Papa said to Auntie Sarah, It's time for us to leave. I'm terribly sorry, but we'll be back tomorrow night. And maybe by the day after that, you'll be home again, said Annabelle. Okay. That's the end of chapter 16. Pretty exciting stuff. So whenever you guys watch this, if you have a chance to write a journal, I was thinking you could write a journal about how Annabelle feels, okay? How does Annabelle feel when she finds Auntie Sarah? Okay? So remember, when it's a question, we're not going to put the question word into the journal. So we're not going to write how, right? We're going to answer the question. How does Annabelle feel when she finds Auntie Sarah? Annabelle feels, and then you finish your journal, okay? So you might say something like, Annabelle feels happy when she finds Auntie Sarah. You know, first she finds Auntie Sarah. Next, she tells her family that she found Auntie Sarah. Last, they all go to the attic to free Auntie Sarah. As you can see, this made Annabelle very happy. She's obviously happy, but if you want to use a different feeling word, some other good words might be proud. You know, she and Tiffany found her all on their own, so they're probably pretty proud. They feel good about themselves that they did that. She might kind of feel relieved after all this time they spent looking for Auntie Sarah. They finally found her, so they feel kind of relieved. She might feel excited that she gets to see her aunt again. What other feeling words? She might still be kind of nervous that they won't be able to free her, that they won't be able to get her back to the dollhouse or what they're going to do. She might feel nervous or confused about that. Whatever feeling word you guys want to write about, okay? I would love to see pictures of your journals. So if someone at home could take a picture of your writing, take a picture of you with your writing, take a video of you reading your writing to me, and send it back to me. You can post it on Class Dojo. You can email me. You can text it to me. I'll be so happy to hear from you guys. I miss you all so much. I hope you're doing a great job at home. Remember to be good for your mom, dad, grandma, whoever you're with. Make sure you're being very good, following directions, all those important things. Do a little reading, a little writing, a little math, and I hope I will see you all very soon. Bye.